Hey Geeks, Mod Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek Season 2, Episode 20, A Piece of Action. Which, by the way, just a quick update. So this is Episode 20, which is Episode 50 overall in the series, which puts us 5/8 through the series. So we're almost to the end. We're getting there. And I think there's 6 more episodes left in the season, so we're even coming to the end of Season 2. So this episode, A Piece of Action, it's an okay episode. It's pretty fun. We've gone kind of back to that comical yet serious routine. In this one, a ship went missing. The Horizon went missing, and it turns out that they visited this planet and they left a book called the 1920s Gangsters, written in 1992, by the way, the futuristic 1992. And this planet basically adopted it as its Bible almost, and they've built their entire culture on 1920s gangsters, and so that's how their entire society runs. Which, some kind of interesting notes, when Gene Roddenberry was first pitching the idea for Star Trek, he was just kind of writing down random notes and ideas. Like Mud was one of his first ideas. Even though it didn't get made first, it was just an idea he had. And this is a very similar idea. Like on his very first page of notes, he wrote President Capone from The Gangster. And it was just an idea that was floating in the back of his head. And then slowly, years later, because this is even before The Cage, so years later, this episode finally developed from that. And it's an interesting episode. It's pretty fun, especially watching William Shatner like try to do his gangster mob accent and voice that I'm not even going to try to replicate. Some other interesting notes. So we talked about with Tribbles in Deep Space Nine, they did the sequel shout out whatever, and they did the Tribble episode. Ronald Moore, the producer, had actually wanted to do this episode as the sequel, because this episode ends kind of in a funny way where McCoy realizes that he left his communicator on the planet. And then McCoy, Spock, and Kirk are all just kind of joking about it, and then boom, it cuts. Like really abruptly it cuts. Well, Ronald Moore had wanted to do the sequel to in Deep Space Nine, the shout out, as a sequel to this episode, and kind of going back and seeing how this planet had taken the communicator and adopted their entire culture from that. And it was supposed to be kind of allegorical about like Trekkies and like Comic-Con and stuff like that, and seeing the crew in that atmosphere. In the end, they ended up going with the Tribble episodes. But that being said, in Enterprise, I think it's season 2 of Enterprise, they do end up doing an episode. It's called The Communicator, actually, where Lieutenant Reed leaves his communicator on a planet. And it's kind of a sequel / shout out. It's more like inspired by this episode. But overall, this episode's really good. It has good pacing, it has good action, it has good comedy. It's the first instance of site-to-site transporter. So we're not going from the planet to the ship. We're actually going from the planet to the planet. They don't call it site-to-site, but it is. But yeah, overall, it's a good episode. I feel like the last few episodes have really been a little lull, so it's good to see, like, this is a pretty good episode. Tomorrow's episode is By Any Other Name. Little Shakespeare quote there. But yeah, overall, this one's really good. Have you guys seen this one? It was listed as like some of the like top 10 essential episodes. Personally, I don't think it's that great, but it's a good episode, especially after the last couple of episodes. Yeah, otherwise, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you tomorrow.